People turned their heads and then looked away. Only one person moved, a waitress with tired eyes and an apron stained from a long shift, never realizing who was watching her every move. The diner was crowded that afternoon, the air thick, with the scent of coffee and grilled bread. In the corner booth, two small boys, identical down to the curl of their hair, leaned too far over the edge. One reached for the dropped spoon, the other followed. In an instant, they slipped, chairs tipping, bodies toppling toward the hard floor. A few gasps fluttered through the room, but no one got up. The staff were busy, customers frozen in that strange way people often are when something urgent happens to someone else. But Grace moved. She crossed the room with surprising speed, her worn sneakers squeaking against the tile. In one smooth motion, she caught the first boy before his head struck the ground, then wrapped an arm around the second, pulling him against her chest. Their small bodies trembled, their eyes wide. "You're safe," she whispered, steadying them both. Grace was not new to emergencies. The faint scar along her forearm told of past moments when she had stepped in while others stood still. But she didn't think about that now. She thought only about the boys in her arms, their tiny fingers clutching at her uniform. Grace had once been a firefighter, one of the few women in her unit. She had pulled people from burning homes, carried children out of smoke-filled hallways, and stood on streets littered with glass after explosions. She knew the weight of fear, the way it made people freeze, the way seconds could mean the difference between tragedy and relief. But after an injury to her back ended her service, she had been left with no choice but to leave the job she loved. Now she worked at this small-town diner. The pay was modest, the work demanding, but it was steady. The uniform was different. But the mission felt the same: protect where you could, help when you could, even if no one thanked you for it. The twins' fall drew only murmurs from the surrounding tables. Grace glanced around, expecting to see a parent rushing over, but no one came. The boys whispered something about their daddy being outside. Her brows knit in quiet concern. She led them gently back to their booth, making sure they were seated safely this time. She poured them water, pushing the glasses close, as if the simple act could anchor them in place. One customer nearby muttered, "Not her job," shaking his head at the interruption in service. Grace heard but didn't react. Quiet dignity had always been her armor. As she wiped their table, she kept an eye on the door. Minutes ticked by, still no sign of a parent. Grace's mind moved through possibilities. Had something happened? Were they left alone? She stayed by their booth, ignoring the impatient wave from another table. That small act of resistance, choosing their safety over her expected duties, wasn't lost on the room. Some frowned, but a few watched her with quiet curiosity. Then, the door swung open and a tall man in a dark coat stepped inside. His eyes went straight to the twins. In 2 strides, he was at their side, pulling them close. Relief softened his face, but the controlled power in his movements told another story. He turned to Grace. "You stayed with them?" She nodded, brushing off the question. "Just wanted to make sure they were all right." What she didn't know, and what the room was about to learn, was that he wasn't just their father. He was the city's police chief, known for his unshakable standards and relentless pursuit of justice. The chief looked around the diner, his voice calm but carrying weight. "In this city, we take care of each other. Or we should." Then, to Grace, he said quietly, "Real heroes don't wear badges or uniforms. They just act when it matters." He left a thick envelope on the counter for Grace's manager, instructing it to be added to her pay. The twins waved at her as they left, safe between their father's hands. For the rest of the shift, the murmurs in the diner were different, tinged with respect, even admiration. Some people measure their worth in titles and positions. Others measure it in the moments they didn't look away. Grace hadn't saved the twins for recognition. She'd done it because it was right. And in the quiet hum of the diner after they left, that truth mattered more than anything. If this story moved you, share your thoughts below, tell us where you're watching from, and subscribe for more tales that honor those who act, not for reward, but because someone needs them to.